Okay, so I'm happy to introduce our first keynote guest speaker for this year's conference, Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Congresswoman Waters is one of, there you go, all right. And that was way more than California in the House, I can tell you that. Congresswoman Waters is one of the most powerful women in American politics today, and she's a good friend of NCRC. She serves as the ranking member of the House Committee on Financial Services. She's an integral member of the Congressional Democratic Leadership, a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and a member and past chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. She's led congressional efforts to mitigate foreclosures and keep American families in their homes during the foreclosure crisis, and I think that deserves a round of applause. She also authored the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, which provides grants to states, local governments, and nonprofits to fight foreclosures, home abandonment, and blight to restore neighborhoods. So we're pleased to have her this morning to help us kick off the 2017 NCRC Annual Conference. Join me in welcoming Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much for that very warm reception, and thank you, Bob, for that introduction. It's especially nice to receive that kind of welcome here in Washington, D.C., when we're dealing with the White House, such of which we've never seen before. So I want to thank you, Bob, for that very warm introduction and for inviting me to speak here today. I'm pleased to be speaking at this conference focused on creating a just economy. I want to thank all of you here today for your work to promote access to basic banking services, to ensure that all hardworking Americans have fair opportunities to build wealth and to create vibrant, healthy communities. Whether you represent a community development corporation, civil rights group, housing counseling agency, community organizing group, or small business development group, you serve a valuable role that helps lift up and empower your neighbors and peers. Your advocacy and your service are more important now than ever. We're at a moment when the progress we have made since the financial crisis is at risk. It's truly time to sound the alarm. Many of you fought for the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, which created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. These important reforms are now under attack by the Trump administration and by Republicans in Congress. One of Trump's first official acts as president was to sign an executive order laying the groundwork for Dodd-Frank to be dismantled. Since then, the Trump Justice Department has also filed a brief in support of a court case that would allow Trump to fire CFPB Director Cordray at will. Meanwhile, the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee has signaled that congressional Republicans may use the budget reconciliation process to have the CFPB, quote, functionally terminated, unquote. We cannot allow them to roll back this critical law, fire Director Cordray, or destroy the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Since its creation in Dodd-Frank, the CFPB has successfully recovered nearly $12 billion for 29 million consumers harmed by predatory and illegal financial practices. They have helped to resolve over 1 million individual consumer complaints and continue to go after institutions and industries that break the law and abuse or deceive consumers. We all saw the CFPB at work during the Wells Fargo case, when the bank was caught creating over 2 million fake accounts without its customers' permission. Without the CFPB, that fraud would have gone unchecked. Having a cop on the beat, like the CFPB, to safeguard against harmful practices and products is a crucial component of a just economy. Dodd-Frank ensures that the kind of risky and predatory behaviors that help cause the financial crisis are no longer allowed. For example, Dodd-Frank established qualified mortgages, which include an ability to repay. Because of this rule, the days of home buyers getting sucked into exploding mortgages are over. But Republicans would take us back to the days of the subprime meltdown. We must remain diligent in the face of efforts to undermine and destroy the law. We all heard Donald Trump say that he is going to, and I quote, do a big number, unquote, on Dodd-Frank. What that really means is opening the door to another great recession or worse. It's an approach that bows down to what Wall Street wants and puts Main Street in harm's way. But Trump's threats to our economy and the communities you serve don't end there. The budget blueprint released by the Trump administration contains proposed cuts to housing, programs that would be catastrophic for American families. HUD's rental assistance programs would be cut by at least $1.6 billion. According to reports from advocates, this would put at least 200,000 households at risk of eviction and homelessness. Several other valuable programs are eliminated altogether in the budget blueprint, including the Community Development Block Grant and the Home Investment Partnerships programs. The administration's plan also removes all funding for community development financial institutions. I know you understand how critical all of these programs are for the economic well-being of communities and how harmful this budget would be. Let's not forget about threats to home ownership opportunity. One of the first things the Trump administration did when he came into office was to reverse a Federal Housing Administration mortgage insurance premium cut that would have saved new homeowners approximately $500 a year. With this move, the Trump administration has effectively made home ownership less affordable and less accessible. Home ownership remains a quintessential part of the American dream, and it also is one of the best ways for American households to build wealth. We cannot allow policies that needlessly close off economic opportunity and make home ownership more expensive for those working their way up the economic ladder. When working families and communities of color are shut out of sustainable home ownership, it's bad for all of us. I know that as the national community reinvestment coalition, you're also concerned about possible attacks on the Community Reinvestment Act, which is so important in ensuring that banks invest responsibly in the communities where they are chartered. CRA got a bad rap during the financial crisis as Republicans wrongly blamed it for the rise in subprime loans. However, the data shows that only 6% of subprime loans originated during 2005 and 2006 were created CRA-related. Unfortunately, we know that we're dealing with people who trade in alternative facts. And that CRA will probably be a target. But I want all of you to know that as ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee, I pledge to fight against any efforts to weaken this critical law that might emerge. I will also push back on the false narratives about CRA that continue to be repeated by conservatives, even in the face of all evidence to the contrary. So, despite the hostile posture of the administration toward important programs and laws to protect consumers and communities, I vow to continue the fight every day for working families, and I need you to continue to fight also. Simply put, we in Congress cannot do it alone. We're relying on your hard work and advocacy for you to stand alongside us and fight for our shared core values. We need you to be even more active than ever before and help keep members of Congress informed. I know that many of you have come from across the country to do just that. It's absolutely critical that your members of Congress hear from you. In addition to the advocacy you're doing here in D.C., please continue that work once you get back to your hometowns and cities. Let's not forget, Trump professed to care about many of these communities during his campaign. Let your community members and clients know about the harmful plans that the Trump administration has, how those plans will impact them, how they can fight back. Share your understanding of the issues and reach out to more people in the fight and the resistance. Get them involved. Keep telling the truth about the need for a just economy. So again, let me commend you for your work and thank you for all you do in my district and of course in communities across the United States. Now, having said that, in my well-prepared statement to you, let's get down to what we gotta do. This president is a danger to this country. When I recognized during the campaign that this was a mean-spirited, non-caring, dangerous person, I decided right away that I was going to take him on. And I tell you what still stands in my mind today about the campaign. When he mimicked and mocked a disabled man, when he talked about where he could grab women because he was famous, when he said these kinds of things, and when he treated Hillary Clinton so terribly bad, when he stalked her at a debate that I attended in St. Louis, Missouri, I decided then that he was not going to be a man that was going to live up to the promises that he was making to people who were looking for a friend and a hand up and looking for a better way of life. And so he literally dog whistled to those rural communities and small towns. And he sent some of those nasty messages. Those messages had to do with, you're not doing so well. Look at those people who are doing better than you. They don't deserve it. You deserve it. They're driving better cars. They're living in better houses. Look what's happening out here in the rural communities. And so he dog whistled and it worked. And he worked those communities, and of course he ended up with the electoral vote. He did not get the popular vote, and we must remember that. And so he has come to Congress and he brought with him some of the practices that he's employed as a businessman, cheating folks, literally not paying the vendors, not paying the subcontractors, setting up a fake school, talking about training folks how to be good real estate developers, tricked them out of their money. Many of them had to file lawsuits and go to court, and luckily the Attorney General up in New York did sue and get some of that money back. We won't be able to undo all of the harm that he's already caused with his executive orders, with a lawsuit. We need to fight. We need to fight him with every inch of our breath that we have. We need to let him know this is America and we're not going to take him, his tactics, or the way that he is treating the average human being out there who's looking for a hand up and a safety net from their government, not someone who comes in and simply makes promises and forget about them the next day. How many times have you ever heard the President of the United States being called a liar by the media, the press, and everybody else? It doesn't happen that way. But everybody knows now he is a liar. He will tell you anything, and he will try and get you to believe anything. And so the historically black colleges and universities decided the presidents were going to go up and talk to him about education and how they could invest in human potential and how he could give support to these colleges and universities so these young people could really have careers and have a decent quality of life. They went up. They did not get a chance to even present the proposal. They were basically squared around into a photo op while Kellyanne Conway sat on the couch on her knees taking photographs and disrespecting them. But Trump doesn't respect anybody. He's all about himself. He's all about Trump and his family. How can they make more money? How can they have alliances with Russia and Putin? And how can he be involved with those folks who have been around him for years, who have been about oil and money, etc.? If you take a look at his nominees, you ought to be frightened. Betsy DeVos don't know a thing about education. I'm told that Mnuchin is sending some better signals, but I'm still remembering that he foreclosed on 36,000 homes in our country and in my state. When you take a look at him or Jeff Sessions, we know what his background is. Yeah, he still is what he was back then. He hasn't changed. And so here we are dealing with Wilbur Ross and Jeff Sessions and Betsy DeVos and all of these folks, most of them billionaires. Most of them billionaires. They're rich. They have nothing else to do but come and take over your government. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot have it. And we cannot be nice about it. We've got to call it like it is. We've got to show them for what they are. We've got to fight with everything that we have. No more serving people who don't know where their support comes from. We're very nice. You're out there dealing with folks who need you desperately. And oftentimes they see you and they thank you, but they don't vote. Everybody you work with has got to vote. And don't let anybody scare you away from registering them to vote. You register them to vote, you get them voting, you point out to them what the issues are and who's working on their behalf, and get them involved in this economy and in this country so that we can have the kind of leadership that cares about all of the people. And so, if you see me in the press, and if I say some stuff that you never thought you'd hear me say before, you just say, "You go, girl." I have decided to take off the gloves. I have been working in financial services now for a length of time. And as you know, when Barney Frank was there and I headed housing and all of that, I could spend a lot of time on my subcommittee when I had housing. I've been fighting Wall Street and dealing with the predatory loans and trying to create opportunities, and that kind of takes you away from the grassroots organizing. I'm back. I'm back. And I'm going to spend my weekends in public housing projects. I'm going to spend my weekend in communities where they're not seeing elected officials. I'm going to go from north, south, east, and west. We're going to organize this country. We're going to get people involved and voting. And guess what? The millennials have now caught on. The millennials have called on. And because of what I've been doing, they've adopted me and they're calling me Auntie Maxine. And Auntie Maxine is so happy that we have this new energy and these young people who want to join and who want to fight, and we're going to be right there with them, involving them in ways they haven't been involved before. We're going to tell some people to move over and get out of the way and let them in and let them do what they want to do. And so I'm delighted when they teach me new ways of talking. When I talk about Trump, they said she's throwing shade on him. And as I wrap up with you here today, I'm going to teach you what the young folks have taught me: stay woke. Thank you.